We are introducing you to the real music man of Ipswich, who is becoming quite the musical man about town. So say hello to Tom Palance.
Hello. Thanks for having me
And
here.
Orchestra on the Hill was what I first heard of you. And then, just before we put on the camera, I was telling him that I saw him in the backup band to Miranda Russell down at EBSCO a couple of years ago. And I said, wow, that's the classical guy. He plays this trumpet. And if you happen into the Mayflower Chinese restaurant on Thursday night, you're going to be in for a treat. But other than that, this show's about you.
Tuesday nights.
Tuesday night, sorry.
6:30 to 9:30.
Thursday night, you can just enjoy the regular Chinese
We
food.
open it up for neighbors to come and bring their instruments and
Really?
play. Oh yeah. So you
It's
never
like
know. You never know what kind of music is
Like an
going
old
to
hootenanny
occur.
or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. We have.
I'm dating
have-
myself now.
I have my dentist comes in and he plays Ring of Fire, and I have Orville Giddings comes in and he sits in sometimes and
Orville was my daughter's first boyfriend.
oh, was he?
Yeah, and he
Really?
played at my daughter's wedding.
Yeah.
So
Wow. That must have been.
I'm dating myself. Let's talk about your background, because we talked about this a
Sure.
little off camera. I want to know how you started in this whole business. I mean,
Okay, well, I guess I was in the fourth grade. I started playing the trumpet. It was
Okay.
about 50 years ago, believe it or not. Yeah, just do the math.
I'll do the math, okay?
So I just fell in love with this instrument. You know, I think I heard my uncle play it, and
Is it in the family? Is music in the
yeah,
family?
yeah,
Okay.
it's in the family, yeah. And I was pretty inspired. I said, wow, that sounds really nice. I want to
Okay.
do that. I want to do that. How do I do that? So as soon as I got home from visiting them, I bugged my parents to let me join the band, because in the fourth grade you get to choose an instrument. It's very and
Okay.
they do that here too.
Really?
Before you get to fourth grade, you choose an instrument, string instrument or wind instrument, or so I chose I chose the trumpet. And then when I went to the school, I started to change my mind because I heard somebody play the saxophone, and I said that sounds even better.
I like the
I
sound
think
of
I want to
saxophone.
take up the sax, and they said, well, we don't start people on saxophone, and we don't start people on drums either. But so if you want to play the saxophone, you have to learn the clarinet. And I
Okay.
went, no, thank you. No, clarinet's not for me. I don't know why, just a little case, you know. And
Yeah, yeah.
I like you know. So I took up the trumpet, and I fell in love with this instrument, and I used to spend hours a day practicing this instrument until I got into the middle school, and then I wanted to play football or do sports. And my mom said to me, she said, you can't do both. You have to
Well, at
either play
halftime you could be in the
I
marching
know,
band,
she's-
and
I guess they couldn't afford the instruments and the sports and all that because there were 5 kids in the family. So I had to make a choice, and I think I'm going to take sports. And she goes, I got a deal for you. You play the trumpet for 1 month, every day for 1 month. And after that month, if you don't want to play the trumpet anymore, no questions asked, give it back, we'll turn it into the school, and you can play sports. So I took her up on it. I'm going to play every day. I played for, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour. And guess what happened after 1 month?
you didn't go to football.
I got really good at it. Because
Okay, all right,
Because I practiced.
Yeah, yeah.
And I started to fall in love with the instrument again. So Mom
Cool.
had some really good instincts, really
Okay.
good knowledge there. And so since then, I just kept playing, and I ended up, you know, I was in my high school band, in the marching band, jazz band, and so on. And I was surrounded by really good educators. That's what we have in Ipswich, you know, Jerry Dole. And
The high school for a
Corey
small
Seaton.
town, I mean, we're pretty steady attendees,
Oh.
and Jerry impressed me, and the guy, I forget his name, that has the vocal group and the jazz group.
Yeah, Jeff Patches
Jeff.
was the
Yeah.
choral director.
Is he retired?
Not he just retired, and you know we have wonderful people who are taking the place of these retired folks. Michael Coelho came in, orchestra director, is
Okay.
wonderful, and Abby Frost came in and took over for the chorus for Jeff Patch. And they're all super talented, and they're inspiring the kids, just like I was inspired when
Okay.
I was in school. So I can identify with this.
So we
this
get through high school, we go to college.
Went off to music school.
Yeah.
I went to music education
Okay.
at the University of New Hampshire. And then I think it was the week after I graduated, I interviewed for a high school band director job in Manchester, New Hampshire. And they gave me the job, and I went in, and I think I was 22 years old, and my oldest student was 18.
Oh boy.
So there was, so they asked me for hall passes on a regular basis. I looked really young, you know. I had to wear a tie and try to grow a beard as best I could to stand out. But I had a wonderful 4 years there, and then I had an opportunity to audition for the Navy Band in D.C., and it was a permanent duty. So you go into the Navy, and you can stay for up until you retire in that area. And I auditioned, and there were 70 trumpet players that came and auditioned with me, and somehow I got lucky, and I got the job right there on the spot. And they said, go off to your nearest Navy recruiter.
That 30 minutes a day every day
paid off.
Paid off. Okay,
Right.
yeah, all right.
So, yeah, so I went to my Navy recruiter, and they said, well, how are you with push-ups and sit-ups, and can you swim? That kind of, and so I went to boot camp, and it was
You told me
horrible.
you wanted to be a trumpet player,
It
not a
was
SEAL.
horrible.
You didn't
I
want
had
to be
to
a
put
Navy
the trumpet
SEAL.
in the case,
all right.
and I ran around with the rifle and went through all the basic training and really gained a respect for the way they train our military. It's pretty incredible. Anyways, so once I got out of boot camp, I went to Washington D.C. and I was in the concert band for a while. I got in as a classical trumpet player.
Okay.
And I played assistant principal, and it was a wonderful experience. And then I discovered that they had a jazz band down there, and the jazz band wasn't run by officers. So that was kind of nice that the guys in the band ran the band themselves.
Pretty loose saluting and stuff?
It was a little looser down there in the jazz
yeah,
band.
right, yeah.
But it was a very good band. It sounded like the Count Basie band. It was amazing.
Oh, wow.
It was incredible. So I would go downstairs and practice outside the door a little bit to let them know that I can do this jazz thing a little bit. And then they sooner or later asked me to sub in the band when somebody got sick or took leave. And then they ended up offering me the job to play jazz trumpet in the jazz band.
What was the group that you came to Ipswich 12 years ago?
That was called it was the Navy Band Commodores. That was the jazz band.
That was fantastic. My wife and I went to that concert.
It was a lot of
unbelievable.
fun.
And is that how you ended up in Ipswich?
Well, I knew I liked the area, and then when we were on tour, we came to Ipswich. I think Ray Morley sponsored us. Ray was doing a good job of bringing the military bands in. And, we played here, and my wife came here, we fell in love with the town.
It's kind of cool.
We fell in love with this. We thought, wow, the arts are incredible here, and the people are nice. And
Clams aren't bad.
there's clams, and there's the ocean, and, open spaces.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So that was actually a couple years before I retired.
Okay.
So we had that on our brains that we were going to come here.
How did the Orchestra on the Hill start?
When I first moved here, I was going to church at the First Church,
Okay.
and I still go there. And I had noticed a lot of.
You've got a great minister. We've done a couple of pieces
Rebecca's
with Rebecca.
We all love Rebecca.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
And she's a violinist.
Is
And
she?
Yeah, she's a violinist. She's a very good violinist. Well, anyways, I was impressed by Rebecca because I was sitting in there as a parishioner, and I had my missal open, the hymn book, and I wasn't really singing. She would walk down the aisle, and then she noticed I wasn't singing, and she would, as she's walking, she would point at the book right there. So that's where you sing, right there. And I went, oh, this gal, she's on the ball. She's going to keep. So I started singing a little bit, but one thing led to another, and Joanne McMahon is the music director, and she said, I used to have string players that came, and we had a little orchestra in this church, and it was wonderful. And I said, let's get them back. Let me call them and get them back over here to play. So there was a group of 4 or 5 volunteer string players who were just wonderful and such fun people to be with. And I thought, let's play together. So I would get out some trumpet concertos, which is, trumpet, piccolo trumpet, it's a little instrument, and with string orchestra, and there's a lot of Baroque literature for that combination of instruments.
Okay.
So it was a wonder I was playing these trumpet concertos with the strings, and we would play in church. Wow. And after a while, the string player said, we want to do something on our own. You know, we don't have to do trumpet concertos all the time, Tom. So I found a couple pieces to do just with them. And I thought, well, let's play a little concert then. You know, you sound really good. Let's go play a concert. And we started, you know, we played a concert, and then the group started to grow. And as it grew, there was a little more demand for concerts, and naturally the volunteers would, you know, they would have other priorities in life, and they didn't have time really to get ready for concerts. And,
Okay.
you know,
That's a commitment.
so I brought in a few professionals into
Okay.
the group, and I paid these professionals to play, and they sat in amongst volunteers. It was a pretty good situation for a while, and then naturally the volunteer base started dropping, and I started hiring more people, and now it's all professional musicians, and you know, there are multiple reasons that happened, good and some, you know, not so, but this orchestra has been going ever since, and
To great reviews,
better and
I might
better.
add.
We're playing up at the Crane Estate a couple times a year. We're doing a couple of really special concerts, which bring in other artists, like
Okay.
visual artists, and dancers, and poets. I'm discovering that Ipswich is full of great artists, and it's my dream to get them together and perform.
you play all genres. I mean, you have interest in jazz. You have.
I do. As a working trumpet player, it's within my best interest economically to be able to perform in the jazz idiom and the classical idiom and pop music, and I do my best to play well in all of those.
Well, I
genres.
did see you play with in the backup of the band with Miranda Russell there down at EBSCO.
One of my favorite things to do in the play, because Miranda is such a sweetheart, and she is such a gifted musician.
Yeah, there's a good set of pipes there too, I think.
She really, and she.
Do we use that
treats-
term? That's not derogatory.
Sure,
Nice
you
set
can,
of pipes.
yeah, no,
all right.
it's not-
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and she hires wonderful people, and she she has us come up to the house to rehearse, and it's a beautiful setting in the orchard, and
Yeah.
and she has so much respect for other musicians, and
That's cool.
we have respect for her, and it's just a wonderful situation. Work with Miranda.
So people should keep in tune and watch. I mean, you publish it in the Chronicle, right? When the Orchestra on the Hill is going to.
We
perform?
do our best to promote
Okay.
that, although I'm looking for volunteers in the community to help us promote our concerts, to help us manage our orchestra, because when you're running an organization, there are lots of little detail things that
You
need
had
to be
mentioned
looked
that to
at.
me, and I, in passing, mentioned it to my wife, and she said that's absolutely verboten because I'm involved in too many things.
And that's usually the case. The people who are good at that are overly involved. But I know there's somebody out there
Oh, I'm sure there is. I'm
that
sure
is
there is.
recently retired and maybe have some management skills. We're looking for fundraisers as well, because
Mm-hmm.
it costs us money to pay musicians if we
course.
want to maintain the quality that we have, and also if it's a really good group, and we're going to do the town proud. We're going to keep this town on the map as a place with quality artistic.
Well,
endeavors.
there's a huge following for. Oh God, they just appeared at the Our Lady of Hope. What is that?
Our Lady of Hope,
Well, no, but they have it.
Chorus
use it as a
North
venue.
Shore,
Yes.
with Sonny Pryor. I just played with her this
Yeah.
weekend.
See, I could see where you would play almost in the same venues that they do.
Yes.
On a separate circuit, because they draw a big crowd.
They draw a big crowd. They have that course full of community members, and
Yep.
and I play in the orchestra there. That's called the Presto
Okay.
Orchestra, and that orchestra plays in support of Chorus North Shore and some
Okay.
other endeavors.
So, keep your eyes out for appearances, Orchestra on the Hill, and drop by Tuesday nights, right, at the Mayflower?
Tuesday nights, 6:30 to 9:30.
Well, listen, I thank you.
Absolutely.
We'll let you get back
Thanks
to
for coming out to the house.
And I think we should look into the possibility of having your own show. And,
I'd love to talk to you about that
Okay.
sometime. I'd love to feature the artists that are here.
Cool.
Great artists.
I thank you, Tom. All right. Don't look at me because 3 years of piano. He did say I had beautiful
Well,
hands.
you said you were going to play something for me.
No. After 3 years, all I could do was play the lead into White Christmas.
Well, that's
That wasn't going to get me a scholarship to Berkeley.
yeah.
Thank you.